So yeah, Tordread knew I was going to play Sasha because he plays Hawk almost every time on this map for tier 1. So he wanted to counterpick me. Because I was going to go Sasha into his Hawk. So instead he went Javier. Which I think Sasha's perfectly fine against Javier. Because you make it so he can't save his CO power. So he doesn't get to have his super strong turn when he wants to have it. He gets to have it kind of when you let him have it. Assuming you're playing Sasha, right? I mean, here we go. So because this is a Javier game, there's a huge win con for both players in controlling the comm towers. If either player has both comm towers, they will probably just win the game. If Javier has both of them, he has 20 units against base units, which is pretty bad. And then if Sasha has them both, it's you know, against base Javier, and you've got extra income and extra firepower, so you just kind of win. So keeping that in mind, it's going to really dictate the entire game is around these comm towers and forcing investments around the comm towers so that you can win in other places is my game plan. I'm going to, of course, have very early aggression towards his comm tower. I'm also going to have a period of time where I panic that he's going for early aggression on mine. And in the middle is going to be determined basically on how well the fights on the sides go. Because the more I can make him invest in defending this comm tower, the less he can have in the middle. And of course, Tordread always plays very heavy in the middle on this map. He has a structured opening where he gets double artillery down here to stop the lander from blocking him in, and then puts both of the artillery in the lander, drops them right here and right here exactly, and then uses those with these forests in the middle to win all these properties. I saw him do that in like every single game on this map, so I did have a possible build in the books where I wouldn't go for the comm tower pressure, and instead I would go for very, very fast artillery and bring it down into this forest and fire on his artillery with a tank backup and just try and ambush his drop that he always does. But I did not end up doing that because, I mean, it's too tempting to go after the comm towers. But I did have some backup strategies that I didn't end up going with. Yeah, Tordread doesn't end up going with an anti-air in the middle, and that's just because he can't afford to. Everything, all the land vehicles he sends to the middle were meant for like defending this comm tower, and then he like sends them after he thinks he's got it kind of squared away. And it doesn't really make sense to build an anti-air to defend this comm tower. So if you build an anti-air here, and then you need to defend this comm tower, you're in a lot of trouble. So it makes it hard to build one to send to the middle. But we'll see how it plays out. Okay, no worries, War DJ. All right, here we go. I also did a lot of research into how Tordread moves his landers on this map. So you'll see I'll have some wonky plays where I'm trying to trap him and do psychological damage to be like, I'm in your head. So yeah, all of his... This is kind of book Tordread. If you watch any of his replays on this map, he kind of does the same things. Good night, Shadow. Where do I do the researching? I download the replays on the Advanced Wars by Web. So very, very simple little inventory openings here. Of course, Tordread knows from watching the video of me against Degis that DPSI did. he knows that I will recon rush. He knows that I will recon rush the comm tower, so he's going to send his very first infantry, which is going to cost him a lot financially to capture this comm tower so that he won't get denied like that. But that's a very expensive thing to do. And you can see I trapped his lander because he always moves it to the same spot. And then just gonna go for this nice little chain here first. Yep. Just double checking that he's here. He's trying to make it so I can't lock him in. Doing a little loop just in case he tries to... If he tries to do the lock-in, now I'll trap him over here. You'll note that I went down, so it looks like my lander is going to go rush and sit on his harbor and deny him income that way. And then if he's trying to like lock this, I'll trap him again. Mostly harmless. He's just kind of doing basic stuff down here. He, of course, retreats because he's scared that I will block his harbor. But this also means that this lander is now free to pick stuff up. We'll just get these captures. And then because I'm Sasha, I can build a tank on turn 4. Which is nice. And very strong pressure on the comm tower. And I just see here, keeping track of his 2-base lander. Eventually, he's going to move this over to the left one, as he always does, so he can lift infantry onto this mountain. He goes for the comm tower right away. He's very safe. I don't think it would be possible for me to interrupt that unless I skipped this base and just landed in infantry immediately, which would have been an amazing play if I had done it. I don't think it would be good, but it would have been amazing. He's running down to the corner here. You can see he's pretty far behind in the capture game over here in comparison to me. He doesn't even have an infantry heading over here yet, and he's not capping this property yet. Or this harbor. This is all delayed a lot just because one went for this comm tower. And here's his classic Tordread play. He's getting the artillery to set up the double artillery to kill my lander once I move down, since he's moved over to the left. He's going to put this artillery here, I think. And then he builds another one in his other games. But he can't really afford to do that against me here because he will have to protect his comm tower. So it's tough to manage to buy 2 artillery just to kill a lander. My tank is on its way. I had expected him to start capping this on day 7 with a mech that walks across. You build the mech on day 4, day 5, day 6, or day 6, day 7. That's what I expected. So I would I have my vehicle timings lined up to interrupt it at day 7. And because of course I diverted him down here, I get to bring an infantry out on the front lines. Very sneaky. As the recon is going to be spotting for the tank for day 7, so because the tank wouldn't have vision of this by day 7. But the recon will be able to give it vision. And now I have locked him in. Which is good, because I'm a little anxious about him rushing my comm tower. Look at all that vision. He sees all that water. Yep, and there's the artillery lining up for the lander. Now he's assuming that I have my lander in here, of course, and that he's got me locked in, but that's not true. So he's going for the airport first, instead of this property. That's just because I think just because he's got delayed development over here in the capture phase. And he's worried about me pressuring his comm tower. So he wants the other production building. Bunch of infantry. He can't actually afford his second artillery because he had to go for this comm tower. This is his route across the mountains. Here, then here, then here, and then onto the city. I start this capture. And you'll note that it can be used on day 7 to finish off the mech would be capturing this. The tank would get a hit, and then the infantry would come in and finish it off. Is the plan. But of course, he's already finished this capture. And I do have this capture is delayed, which would normally delay this airport, because this guy usually goes here. And then boom, onto this airport to capture. Instead, I'm going to use this guy to capture the airport and just not try and get the city. Because the infantry that would be doing that is right here. I landed it over. Go back for my airport. I think it's either this turn or next turn that I start getting worried about my comm tower. Because I think I moved my lander. Yeah, because I know that he lines up for the artillery double shot. So I moved back. And this also stops him. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. This also stops him from getting his double artillery drop on these tiles because he can't make it around the lander. He's not going to get trapped, but he doesn't have enough movement to make it there. And then I think he might come back, so I'll trap him. So he finishes some captures. He's just now starting these ones. And I'll hop in his lander here. Artillery in, infantry in, and then this is what scares me. As I see the lander go by and drop off. I don't see what it drops off, but I see that it goes over here. And I'm like, oh no, is he rushing my comm tower? So you'll see I start investing a lot on this side. But that will work out because he did drop stuff, so there's stuff to kill. And he's scared, as I would be too, because I'm known for pressuring a lot over here, so he doesn't try and go into either of these forests. He goes and retreats behind the mountains to thwart any capturing infantry on the comm tower and builds a mech. There's the anti-air. It is very expected for there to be copters coming out to defend these sides. I'm not sure what this lander movement was. I think he's just trying to find out where I am, maybe. So here comes the recon. This is, of course, day 7. I see that he's already completed the comm tower capture and moved the infantry off of it, which means that had to be the very first infantry that was built. That's the only way that's possible. So now I have a choice with this infantry as to whether or not I complete this capture or if I move it into this forest and set up a capture on the comm tower, which I decide to go for because I know he's behind me economically. So first I check to make sure he's not actually in this forest with my lander. And I'm still thinking about it. I checked to see if he dropped over here, and he didn't, so that bodes well for my comm tower. And I decide to go for this because I know he's behind economically, having to go for this early capture. So I figure it doesn't matter too much about getting these properties. I'm already ahead. But if I can force him to build stuff to defend this, then that means I'll do better in the middle, which I delayed a little bit because I brought an infantry over. That would normally be heading over here. Here's the tank I build because I'm scared about my comm tower getting captured. Then I go with double infantry because I need enough money lined up so that next turn I can go battlecopter, tank, infantry. So I'm not going to build a recon over here. In hindsight, I think I should have just completed this capture and then gone for this capture so that I just get that much more money than him. Because he doesn't... Well, I don't know if he's moved the infantry into this forest. But I think he has to defend this regardless if I start a capture on it. So I didn't need to go for this. I could have just gotten even more money. And that was definitely a mistake. He's back to trying to find where the lander is. And multi-topic talk. Here he goes. He's defending this capture. Anti-air's coming in because he knows I'm going to build a copter over here. His lander comes down here. I'm doing really well. Just reviewing a game I just finished against Tordread. Now he starts moving towards the middle there. He builds his battlecopter to defend his comm tower. He's very skittish with his infantry because he doesn't want me to be able to step onto this mountain and hit him. Alrighty, finish the capture, start this capture, start moving to get this capture in 2 turns, and I'll have a little wave of infantry to move into the middle. Lots of finishing captures. Starting this capture, I know because he dropped down here and not up here that this is actually safe for me to go for. So no fear there. But I also know that stuff did get dropped off. So we're going tank, battlecopter, and then there'll be a double infantry. Do a little boost. I think that's actually a fake boost, and I have plans to double load in. No, that's a real boost. But I have plans to double load into this lander and drop down here if this capture starts going okay. Because if he doesn't actually build a copter, then when he puts his mech on this mountain and this infantry hits me, I can slam my vehicles into them to weaken them. And then I can have infantry around to join cap finish to take the comm tower. So I'll start that. I think this is a mistake overall. I should just finish this and be capping this this turn, but it's okay. And then I know this is safe to lock him in because he's already dropped up his artillery, and he can't really afford to build more artillery to scare my lander out. So my lander can kind of just sit here as long as I want it to, because he needs to invest in protecting his comm tower and the middle. And because I'm Sasha, and he was hampered in the beginning with the capture phase because he went for the comm tower right away, he can't really afford to fight on all 3 fronts like I can. So the more I can pressure him on every side, the better. He's lining up to start this. Start moving into the middle. He finally found me. He sees that I've already captured this, which probably feels pretty bad for him, considering he's nowhere close to capturing this one. Artillery comes over to defend this infantry because he thinks I'll hit it, which is true. I'll definitely hit that. It's on the road. He starts moving into the middle, boosting more infantry. You know, he can't really afford these like multi-vehicle purchases like I can. Like, he can't go copter tank because he's not Sasha. Pretty much. He can just go tank, infantry. So I get my comm tower. I get to kill his copter for just an injured tank. And it's a really safe kill, too, because this anti-air is in the forest and it's out of range of this mech. So I know that the anti-air is going to live. And then I can go for this kill because I know it's out of range of this mech. And it's out of range of anything he could build from this base. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I do think that building an artillery and dropping it behind the comm tower is good if you're trying to defend that. And that's something that, especially as Javier, you should probably look into doing. But it's also pricey if you're having to fight on all 3 fronts, and then you're dropping an entire vehicle behind these mountains to just sit there and stare at a comm tower. I would not have done this move here if he wasn't Javier. No, I would have just taken these cities. There's for both players, there's a lot more pressure on the comm towers. And you can see I've lined up to ambush his delayed infantry for this capture. Instead of going down here. Because I've decided that this isn't worth fighting for. Because my tank got injured killing the copter and he's going to have built a tank. So I use this copter to scout out this property. So I can attack it. Like so. And I build another tank. Because I don't know if he dropped off... I don't know if he has a tank over here, I guess I should say. I know he dropped off at least one vehicle. So as he's now been... He's fallen from my trap. He's got a little bit earlier of a presence in the middle, but my presence... I got the first battlecopter in the middle, so that's going to be good for me. That's just because he was delayed. Or no, it's not because he was delayed. He went this route to get the airport, and I went from my harbor over, which is a turn faster, even if it's less efficient because you don't go for this side property. Which I guess if he had like really thought about it, he could have sussed out that I would have my airport earlier because I didn't go for this capture. But I don't know if he did that. Building another mech because he's feeling very pressured over here. And he doesn't want to... He can't afford, I should say, to build vehicles on all of these fronts. I don't agree with this play that he made right here. Where he revealed that he had an artillery in this forest to shoot this infantry. I think he should have just gone for the double infantry hit. To try and sucker in a tank. He does reveal my copter, though. Made me very sad. So both players' copters got sniped, but that does put me in my CO power range. Which is nice. So I can come and kill this anti-air, which was a really good trade for me, because that anti-air had to take quite a while to get up here. And then it's only a 1,000 value down for me. But killing an anti-air is worth more than a copter unit count-wise, because airports are kind of like bonus units. And that was a copter I just built last turn, so I can very easily replace it by just building another one. And it will be basically exactly where it was. Where if he builds an anti-air, he has to spend 3 turns getting to where he was. So I'll market crash to wipe his power bar, and then do my infantry engagements, so that I take less damage on my infantry, while also not giving him very much charge. How's all the penguins feel about being led by a koala? I do like koalas, but I think they're very amicable. Koalas and penguins get along very well, as everyone knows. I repair my injured tank. I'm moving this copter over while it's still covering everything, so that I could, if nothing happens over here, I can move the copter to help contest his comm tower, and that would actually be really strong. Because, like, now he wouldn't be able to really scare me off with mechs and the like. And I go double copter, triple infantry, which is something he can only dream of doing. I think he can do it next turn, if he doesn't have any repairs. But it's not something that he can dream of doing on the regular. He could do it. He interrupts my poor capping infantry, makes me very sad. But I do have 2 copters staring at that, but I didn't see his infantry move into this forest. He's fighting me over here. I, of course, see that artillery make this movement, which is really bad for him, because now I know it's in this forest. And there's a tile right here that I can reveal it from. So, a very vulnerable position. He's kind of locked into chaining copters here forever, which is bad for him because I have more money than he does, so I can afford to chain copters much easier than he can. Now he's moved his mech into this forest to protect everything. Another mech. You can see he's really strapped for cash while having to fight on all three fronts. So he has to build a lot of mechs. And there are a lot of mechs without transport units, which is really weak. So I get some captures. I come back to check to make sure this square doesn't have an infantry on it. Do my nice little engagements. The copter gets to strike as soon as it could move. So now I can stand here and hit this infantry. Don't get the roll. Very sad. Kill this guy off. This tank can come in and hit this artillery. So that was the weakness of showing where the artillery was going and not having enough stuff around to actually protect it. So now he's kind of been broken completely on this front. Go here to reveal this 1 health penguin. Or not penguin. Whoa. The penguin's revealing this 1 health guy. I saw him walk there from the city. So I can kill him off, get this copter strike. And then I have a choice here. I can either start this capture to kind of like threaten to finish it next turn, or I could move him to have my copter come in and finish off his copter. I think the correct answer, because otherwise I'd have to hit from this tile that may or may not have an infantry in it. I think the correct answer is actually to remove this infantry. But that's not what I do. I go for the incorrect answer. And so it shows that I waited, but that's just a replay glitch. I actually got trapped right here in this forest. We'll get our anti-air to come over here for this fight, because I know it's going to be a copter chain war. I'm moving back because I don't know if he built the second tank or not. You can see he built the artillery and this lander so that he would be able to lock down his comm tower, but he's feeling very pressured over here, so he's going to have to send it to the middle. There's my copter that got trapped. So it would have been a lot better if I had moved this infantry. I also don't really need the income. It would have been much more valuable to just kill off the copter. So he hits my copter, he finishes off with his own, gets some infantry engagements. He's kind of close to his CO power, but I don't think he gets it. But also he has the problem that all of the important engagements have already happened. So he would, of course, use it, because otherwise I just clear it. So he gets a 5 health attack on this tank. It's not really that scary for me. I think I see this mech go in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, I don't. I just assume there's a mech in that forest. So he hops in the lander, and he's going to drop it off over here. His infantry did a sacrificial attack. Injure me. That was a very bold play. Attacking that infantry when he knows that I have at least an injured tank and an anti-air and a recon. But you can see that he's feeling like this mech is covering anything that blocks this or steps onto the city. He would just step over here and hit me with the tank and the mech. He'll drop his artillery over here to help in the center fight rather than defending his comm tower, because he feels like he's kind of doing okay over here. He's doing really bad over here, so he's building a tank. And he didn't expect me to release his lander, so he didn't actually have anything set up to go into it. So instead, he just brings a single infantry up here. All right, complete some captures. And then this is the turn where I make the correct decision, and I don't finish this capture even though I'd get the city. I will move this infantry so that I can have my my copter kill this copter and let this other copter come through. You'll see I'm going to be killing off these infantry over here, recon infantry, reveal this mech. Move my lander over here to check out what he dropped. Yeah, I know he only dropped an infantry because that's the only thing he could have dropped onto that mountain. Move this guy back up here, just out of the way. Kill off his artillery, and now I'm going to activate my power. Clear almost everything, so that's perfect. That means I'm not wasting any clearing. It wouldn't matter if I like cleared it later on after more engagements. He still would have had some power left. So now he has no vision over here. He has no way of stopping me from taking his property, which is a big econ swing. And then I'm just going to have a lot of killing off infantry and fighting units in the middle here. Attacking him from... Make sure to, of course, attack this infantry before moving this copter so that it remains revealed for another infantry to finish it off. Like so. Gets to make this nice attack from the city, bring him down to 5, and then I get to go after this mech because he just has a 5 health tank. And I know he has his other mech here, and I can kind of suss out what all of his buys were. Bring the lander down here so I can hop infantry into it. Of course, continue the battlecopter chain fight, because that's something I can afford much better than he can, because I'm, of course, Sasha and up in properties. I'm going to build a recon over here. It's going to be heading to the middle, because I know he has a lot of infantry over here. And I'd also like to have vision. So he uses his artillery to finish off my injured infantry. Tank comes in and fights some infantry. He gets to use his power. But you'll note, of course, he doesn't have actually that great of engagements to make with his power, but he's forced to use his power because if he saves it for another turn... Oh, there's my birds. If he saves it for another turn, I will just clear his power bar. So he's going to finish off a lot of these infantry. He's going to come in. He's going to hit this copter really hard because he's... with his 1 comm tower and his power active, he has 30% more attack and defense. Because he gets double the value from all of his comm towers and then also the base 10%. So he's slowly trying to build up a force to fight back over here. 5 health. Just kind of tickles the anti-air. 6 health is still enough to scare off any battlecopter production, which is really bad for him. Because he really wants to be able to build them. Of course, he can't really afford to be building battlecopters from here and the middle. And this is... my birds do not get to roam the house, sadly. This is something that Sasha definitely has over Javier, is the increased money, so I can fight on all 3 fronts and really strain his resources. I did think about building a fighter, and instead I decided to build an anti-air because I thought he might eventually build an anti-air, and that would have been really sad if my fighter had gone in and gotten hit and given him enough charge. I did also think about building a stealth, because I have these 9 health tanks, and I've already won this front. So I have, of course, the choice of loading them into the lander to drop off in the middle to suddenly have tanks in the middle, or I could give myself an influx of cash and build a stealth or a fighter. I do not decide to do that, though, because I think that the battlecopter fight is advantageous to me. So, yeah. I thought this chain fight's really good for me, because it's forcing him to build battlecopters, and it also gives us a predictable amount of charge, which helps me manage his power bar. So he's got really strong stats right now, but if I go after his injured units, it's not that bad, as we see. And then as long as I stand in this forest, he can't actually use his mech to hit anything that I care about. I can start threatening to capture these other cities. I thought he might kill the anti-air, so I built another one. But instead, I'm just going to have 2 anti-air, which is good because he has nothing but mechs and infantry. So it works out well. And then I decide, you know what, I'm just going to take his comm tower, bring these infantry from the middle, and this is a very big threat on his comm tower, and there's nothing he can actually do about it. Even with copters at 30%, it doesn't matter. I can still two-hit KO them. Two-hit KO them. And you can see from the unit count and unit value that I am monstrably ahead, as you would expect, since I completely won a side and I'm winning one side and kind of even in the middle, but really I'm ahead because I have an anti-air, 3 copters to 2 copters. I have more injured infantry than he has a tank and artillery that don't do anything against all these copters. My bad, I have 4 copters. Really annoying formation here. None of his infantry can actually reach over here to reveal this 1 health infantry or hit this 9 health infantry. So you can't really do anything about this unless you want to use his artillery to spot this and then use the copter to kill it, and then the tank can kill his 5 health. It's just not worth it. I'll just retreat, so if he wants to chase me, I can use my reinforcements faster. And another tank. He hits me here. He's trying to clear this infantry. That would have been amazing if the 3 health infantry killed a 4 health infantry. Hit my poor recon, and then he resigns. He, of course, wouldn't have gotten another power anytime soon, and I was already ready to clear him again, and I was going to take his comm tower, and I was going to win the middle pretty soon, while also winning the other 2 sides. So I kind of just won on every section of the map, as is the Go7 way. You can look at the build. Maybe I can move this. Maybe. Oh. Compare to Tordread. There we go. So, I of course got 1 more turns of builds. Yeah. Well, I thought about building a stealth like 3 turns earlier, but I think it was a good choice to not do so. So you can see I built more, but I also... No, I ended on his turn. Okay. So you can see I got 3 more infantry buys out of this, as well as 2 more copter buys. It's pretty good. And death-wise, I lost like 12,000 less, which is huge. Yeah. This became easy after the mid-game. So, I'd say the last, like, 7 turns, I don't know if we did all 7 today, those were pretty easy. But the early turns when I was doing all of my prep work took a long time. The game overall took a month. Some of that's just when I have the spare time. Yeah, that only works because that timing of that only works, I should say, because I knew he had to use his first infantry to rush the comm tower. So, while it might, the most time-consuming turns are definitely the early turns where I'm coming up with everything I want to do. The later turns with all the engagements and the tactics, not that long. I won my weak side because I did I was able to do battlecopter tank at the same time, so I can overrun him with vehicles that he's not expecting. I don't know if D just really wants to do that commentary. That's a game where basically I got he just missed a tactic basically, and then the game was over. So we're looking at unit count deaths. Oof. Yeah, I was never behind in kills. Green being my opponent's deaths, purple being my deaths. There was never a moment. Basically, once I started getting the kills, I just kept getting the kills. Yeah. It was a tough match when I was figuring out everything he was doing. Once I figured out what he was doing, then it was pretty streamlined. There was some tough decisions around that first infantry going for the comm tower. And then, like, is he trying to rush mine as well? But once it got locked into the 3-front fighting, it was over. See if I can... Is there a search stuff? Yeah. Can I just vandalism? So it looks like I researched 3 of his games. And then one with Campai? Because this was a double Javier game. So I wanted to see what Javier was up to. Tordread plays a lot faster than I do, so he doesn't have as much prep work going. But he's got pretty good tactics. He had some really tricky plays in the middle there with the infantry in the forests, protecting the double hits on his copters and stuff. I do tend to be a very intimidating player to go against. That's something I've heard a lot. I also go for a lot of those psychological plays, like the lander traps and stuff like that, to try and get into the opponent's head. I think he said that he got into resignation mode. I think around turn 9? No, turn 10. Yeah. Around turn 10, when I was revealing I had more tanks over here, is when he started feeling like he was in the resignation mode and was just trying to throw stuff at me because he would think I'd have to be weak somewhere, kind of. But I don't have to be because I'm Sasha. I do need to pick my maps for that tournament. I don't play that many games. And you can definitely tell I don't play every game as well thought out, I guess, as all of them. You can definitely tell the games where I don't have an overall strategy. Like my game against Hogat where I was Grim, I did not have an overall strategy for that game, and it was very evident with how uncoordinated my play was.